Welcome back to the Development Book Club. Today we will conclude the first section of No Such Thing as a Bad Kid, where we're talking about, in general, using a strengths-based approach to kids with behavioral problems. Chapter 4 is called Relating Empathically. And the perspective here is that empathy helps us see past negative behaviors and to actually feel for the kids. Imagine the kid that frustrates you most is a challenge that Applestein gives us. He says, now imagine that when you come into work tomorrow, you have to watch a video of the worst 10 minutes of that kid's life. Would you interact with them differently is his question. He relays an interesting exercise when he describes two kids, one who has a horrible abuse history and the other who is, quote, big, smiley, smelly, self-absorbed, rude, manipulative, obnoxious, defiant, unquote. And he asks who the reader would rather work with. So, the kid with the horrible abuse history or the kid who's self-absorbed, smelly, big, rude, manipulative, obnoxious. He then reveals that they are the same kid. And the idea here is that relay the child's painful history and people want to reach out to them and label them as all these pejorative terms and no one wants to work with them. Applestein spends much time reframing negative adjectives that we apply to our kids. For example, instead of labeling kids as like provocative, he asks, does he expect to be rejected? And he reminds us, quote, a youth who provokes adults is in many ways helping them experience the feelings the youth is enduring, unquote. And he talks about the difference between punishment and consequences and the downside of punishment, which is that consequences, instead of punishment, became consequences that have to do with the behavior in question. So the idea here is consequence is related to the behavior in question. Punishment is just a random. So a lot of times we'll say that there are natural consequences to behavior. And he says that there's a role of past abuse in punishment. He says, quote, over the years, kids have screamed at me and my colleagues, quote, go ahead, hit me, unquote. They too were attempting to control the situation. They wanted me to prove that they were bad kids who deserved to be hit. They were testing me as well to see if I would be like the other adults who have mistreated them. And just finally, on setting the record straight, he says one job with kids who have, quote, counterphobic behaviors is to keep their parents on a pedestal. So what they'll do is set the record straight to get them to believe that they are good kids. So number one is to help them understand why their parents mistreated them. Their parents were good people who made some terrible mistakes, probably due to bad luck, question mark, not sure about that, and problems of their own. And this explanation gives tormented kids a way of loving their parents while simultaneously harboring feelings of anger and sadness toward them, which in turn helps them stop blaming themselves for the abusive actions they experienced. Number two is to comfort the kids through the resulting sadness and anger and encourage them to work through those emotions in therapy. That is the end of the first section of No Such Thing as a Bad Kid. Stay tuned next time. We will talk about preventing challenging behavior in part 2, and then ultimately later we will talk about responding to challenging behavior. Thank you for watching.